Today I would like to talk about the value of copper. In my previous post I mentioned the importance of saving silver, not only for the possibility of economic collapse, but also because of its metallic value. Well, I feel the very same way about copper, that being copper pennies. Just as the federal government did away with silver in 1964 by minting its quarters and dimes out of copper, they also did away with the copper in pennies in 1982. Now, the effect may not have been as drastic as, let's say, liquidating silver from currency, but let's face it, wealth is wealth. As I mentioned earlier, coin roll hunting for silver is a great hobby. The downside is not yielding as much silver as you would like to. It's rare. Diversifying your precious metal portfolio is a wonderful option. So have no fear. Penny searching profits can be quite astonishing. Do not let the term penny scare you. The great thing is this is a risk-free investment. You're not paying anything extra for the penny. Well, once obtained, you at least, presently, you over double your value. They're worth like 2.5 cents right now. Copper is worth $3.62 a pound as of today. Now, there's a nifty website called coinflation.com, and on that site they have several base metal coin melt calculators. What these calculators do is they determine the melt value of a preset number of coins you may have. I assume they pull their values right from a stock market ticker. It's fairly accurate. Let's take a look real quick. For example, let's say I enter in $1,000 of pre-1982 pennies. The calculator then takes the current melt value of those two metals, 95% copper, 5% zinc, and combines them for an overall melting price, which happens to be $2,394.13. That's absolutely correct. $1,000 in pre-1982 pennies would yield a profit of almost $1,400. But the value of copper, while great, is not while I search for them now. I strongly believe if we ever see a post-economic collapse or fallout, that copper as well as silver would be traded in place of fiat or paper currency. That $20 bill in your back pocket, it becomes useless. And once again, I'd like to think that the government saw the value of copper in '82 when they decided to strip it out of the penny and replace it with zinc. Just like the generation in the 60s, they were robbed of real wealth as well, that being their silver coins. And the same thing is presently happening with the nickel, but that's something I'll talk about in my next installment. Now, as I mentioned, this is a very safe way to save money. Inflation is a monster because our dollar devalues immensely. When the purchasing power of the dollar goes down, everything we own loses value along with it. Everything we buy costs more. Well, when this happens, silver, gold, and copper, they rise. And you know they're pretty valuable right now. Even in the event of an economic collapse, its value would be much higher. Even in the event of a mass deflation and a booming economy, the face value of a penny is still a penny. So you see, you'll never lose anything on your investment. Now, I cannot think of any other investment that has this much of a guarantee. It's very safe, stable, and secure. You have nothing to lose outside of storage space. And there are a few other upsides as well. It's tough for robbers to make off in a lot of copper if, God forbid, you're ever the victim of a home invasion or a burglary. If the would-be thief can carry out 60 pounds in copper, well, good for him, and good for you too, because it probably wasn't worth it for him. Now, your insurance will not cover the theft and or destruction of any currency. While your paper currency and everything in your house burns up, your copper, even if melted, is very safe. Even if it melts down, the value is still there. You have to keep in mind there is a melt ban. As of right now, it's actually illegal to destroy, tamper, or melt down any American currency. But with talks of America completely eliminating the penny and even the nickel, it's not unwise to think they would eventually be forced into lifting the melt ban as the coins are removed from currency completely. Now, maybe this sounds like a pain in the butt. It's really not that bad. We need to be a member in good standing with our banks, though, because we have to buy our pennies in bulk, and there's no other place to get pennies in bulk outside of a bank. Usually a box which consists of $25 in pennies or 50 roll. So we buy a box and we go through them. It's very simple. All we need to do right now is figure out which pennies are worth keeping and which ones are useless. Or as I like to call them, zinkins. That's a zinc Lincoln penny. You get it? Now here's some things to look out for. All pennies 1906 to 1956 are wheat pennies. These pennies are obviously worth their weight in copper, but I set them aside for their collector's value. Right now they're worth around 5 cents even in poor condition. When in good condition, not including their special years, they can be worth at least double digits to collectors, yielding $10 or more. Now any penny prior to 1906 is an Indian head penny. Definitely set these aside. They are distinct because they have an Indian on the head of the penny. These can be real treasures at times. I would bring them to a coin dealer, or at the very least I would post a picture of it online and look for a professional response. Now anything newer than 1981 is 95% zinc with a copper jacket. There is a slight exception, the year 1982. That was the year they transitioned the coin's metal from copper to zinc. So roughly half of its pennies that year were copper, the other half zinc. So how do we tell these 1982 pennies apart? Well, I wouldn't bother. I would treat them all as zinc and throw them back into circulation. Why? Well, the only way to tell them apart is by getting a scale, or so one would think, and it's time consuming. I don't want to waste my time with it. But if you're interested, copper pennies weigh 3.11 grams, whereas the zinc penny weighs only 2.5 grams. You would want to use a scale that is accurate enough to detect by 1/10 of a gram or better. If it only weighs in 1 gram increments, it's just going to round up, giving you the wrong information. I don't want to go through this process anyway. I would rather automate it, and I'll get to that shortly. The other way is the drop test. If you don't have a scale at hand, copper pennies are higher pitched, whereas zinc pennies have more of a dull, flat clunk. We'll do a demonstration real quick for you. This is a copper penny. This is a zinc penny. Here's the copper. Here's the zinc. Now, you may have been able to pick that up. The zinc penny definitely had a dull thud to it. We'll do it one more time with the zinc penny first. Here's the zinc. Here's the copper. It should be a little more high-pitched. Maybe you can hear that. You practice at it, I'm sure you'll get a little better at it. But personally, I don't even want to go through that. To me, it's a waste of time for a 2 cent profit. It's pointless. I don't even want to dig through the pennies manually. It takes a long time. If you're a young kid or retired, this may be a great hobby for you, or a way to spend some extra time. My time, however, is far too valuable, and I never have enough to go around anyways. There are coin sorters out there that can detect this for you and automate the process, streamlining your investment. I would never break into this hobby without one. I have used several and will demonstrate with one today. Let's go take a peek.
Now what you see here is a Rydell Apprentice Legacy coin sorting machine. Now there are several coin sorting machines that measure the density of a penny to determine whether or not such a penny is copper. The machine I'm currently using, the Rydell, is slightly different, however. Now it basically acts as a metal detector or an alloy sorter. You put a sample coin inside this unit that stays there permanently attached to several coils. The coils then read the metal content of that sample coin, and they compare the content to the coins getting fed through the machine to determine whether or not it should be accepted or rejected. Now with this logic, the nickels should work as well when a day comes where we're surrounded by steel nickels, which probably isn't too far off. Now, the lone upside to this machine to me will probably be the fact that it's able to feed over 300 coins per minute. It's considerably faster than the others, but at the same time, it's considerably more expensive too. Now, unless you have the money to blow, I do not recommend buying this machine because of its steep price point. Now, even if I buy a couple of boxes of pennies per week, I can run them through any of my coin sorters with hours and even days to spare. In order to break even on this machine, you have to reach around $1,000 of sorted copper pennies. Now that can be easily obtained with this machine or any other. Now this machine is awesome, but the only way I can justify buying this great machine is if I have enough resources in coin to keep this thing fed constantly to make its speed outperform the others. Now, I couldn't really justify this, and I'm in hot water with my fiance. But who cares what she thinks? It's not like she is ever going to see this video anyway. So basically, what I'm saying is, even if I buy $200 in pennies a week, my two other coin sorters are also able to handle this payload, and they were considerably cheaper. Now, I want to run this machine long and hard for a few months to see how it stacks up with its durability. So with that said, I may review this unit in greater detail as well as my other coin machines in the future. Worst case scenario, I'll post written reviews on the website in the near future. If anyone is interested, throw some feedback my way and I might speed up that process. Now with this purchase, I did receive 2 extension hoppers that are interstackable. I find this highly useful. Also, 1 spare feed wheel, a 10x eye loop magnification piece, which I will probably use for searching through silver dimes, as well as a small sample of dry lube, and a German-made fine instrument screwdriver for adjusting the sensitivity. So let's turn this puppy on and see what she can do. As you can see, it's pretty impressive, sorting over 300 coins a minute, and fairly accurate. Coppers fall straight down and the zincs to the right. So let's double check this thing for accuracy. I'll feed a handful of the zincs through the machine, and as you see, they all slide to the proper side. Not really much else to say here. And we'll do the same thing with a handful of coppers. Pretty good. Now here the machine is with the extension hoppers intact, and I was able to cram an entire box of pennies into the hopper. And this thing does about 300 coins a minute, so that's 6 rolls a minute. So if we break this thing down, it'll push through about a box of coin in roughly 7 minutes, give or take. Not too shabby. Your purchase decision is entirely up to you, and there really is no wrong answer. I personally would go after a middle-of-the-road product if I had to do everything over again. So stay tuned for some in-depth product reviews and tutorials on how to clean, inspect, and take care of your coin sorters. Great.
So we've obtained our share of copper, but we have possibly hundreds of dollars of change laying around. What to do? Well, we have two options. First, we can roll it up manually and return it to the bank. Now, if you're going to do this, I do not recommend returning it to the bank or even the same branch you picked it up from. Not only will you upset the tellers, but the next time you pick up change, you may face getting the same dump you dropped off. Your other option is dumping them into a coin machine. Most coin machines strip 10% of your dump, turning this hobby into an expensive one. So I would avoid those machines. Luckily, some banks offer coin machine services at no cost for its members. I recommend dumping into one of those machines, but once again, avoid dumping into the bank you pick up at, or you may see your very own recycle. So there it is, some basic knowledge and tips on penny sorting. It may aid you in a potential economic collapse, or act as a safe investment for right now. If interested, my next video will be on the idea of saving present-day nickels. That's all for now. To learn more about this topic as well as others, or to engage in relative conversation, visit my blog at surviveourcollapse.com. Thank you.